What if I told you that your greatest strength could actually destroy you? Yes, you heard that right. That very kindness, so widely praised and championed in society, has the power to turn your life into ruins. Sounds outlandish? Don't jump to conclusions just yet. The ancient Stoics, masters of self-control and emotional regulation, understood this very danger 2 millennia ago. Today, we're not here to discuss how to be kinder. Instead, we're going to explore 10 reasons why your kindness might become your fiercest enemy. And, most importantly, we'll discover how the philosophy of Stoicism can help you transform this potential weakness into an unshakable strength. Before we dive in, let's clarify one crucial point. Stoicism isn't about indifference or having a stone-cold demeanour. It's a philosophy about living a meaningful, wise life in harmony with yourself by focusing on what you can control. And it's precisely this uncontrolled, blind kindness that the Stoics viewed as perilous. They distinguish between true virtue and a simple, people-pleasing desire to accommodate everyone. And it's precisely in this distinction that the key to your peace of mind and ultimate success lies. So let's begin with the first and most obvious reason, one that nevertheless shatters more lives than any other. Your inherent kindness transforms you into a convenient, neon-lit target for manipulators. Imagine a predator searching for the easiest prey. Manipulators possess a similar internal radar. It unerringly locates individuals with big hearts and weak boundaries, people who are afraid to offend by saying no. To them, your empathy and desire to help aren't virtues. They're vulnerabilities. They're a button just waiting to be pushed. It all begins so innocently. A small request, a favour it feels wrong to deny. You agree thinking, what's the harm? But that was merely a test, a probe. And sadly, you passed. The first yes is followed by a second, more audacious request. Then a third. You won't even realise it, but you'll soon find yourself caught in a trap where you're constantly indebted. You cease to be an individual in their eyes. You become a function, a convenient resource, someone who will always back them up, solve their problems, and expend their own time and energy. A Stoic, however, understands this. Their consent is a choice, not an obligation. True kindness isn't blind appeasement. It's a wise act that prevents you from becoming another person's tool. And this brings us to the second equally damaging cause, one that stems directly from the first, emotional burnout. Imagine yourself as a smartphone with a 100% charge. Every problem you solve for others, every request you agree to just because you don't want to say no, is like an energy-intensive app running in the background. Initially, you're full of energy, generously sharing your power. But what happens when you constantly give away your charge without ever plugging yourself in to recharge? That's right, the battery drains. First, you feel a slight fatigue. Then comes an unexplained irritation. And one morning, you wake up to find your battery indicator flashing red. No energy, no drive, no joy in anything that once brought you pleasure. This is burnout in its purest form. You've given everything of yourself, leaving nothing left for your own life. Your kindness, unchecked by a healthy self-interest, turns into self-destruction. You become a walking power bank for everyone around you, forgetting that you yourself need energy just to function. The Stoics would say this is a failure to manage your most vital resource, your inner energy. You can't help anyone if you're completely depleted yourself. Moving on, our third point is deeply connected to burnout, but it strikes even deeper, hitting the very core of your identity. You lose your self-respect. Consider this. Every time you cancel your plans to help someone who could perfectly well handle things themselves. Every time you bite your tongue when everything inside you screams, no! Every time you put someone else's comfort before your own basic needs, you commit a micro-betrayal. A betrayal of yourself. You're sending a very clear and destructive message to your subconscious. My desires don't matter. My time is worthless. I'm not a priority. At first, it's almost imperceptible, but over time, this poison accumulates. Your self-esteem, like the foundation of a house, begins to crack and crumble. You stop seeing a strong, whole person in the mirror. Instead, you see someone who constantly apologizes for their existence, trying to earn their right to be here by pleasing everyone else. The Stoics believe that a person's greatest fortress is their inner world, their principles. By losing self-respect, you surrender this fortress without a fight. You willingly hand over the keys to your inner self to just anyone. And this is arguably one of the most profound losses one can experience. Let's turn to the fourth, and perhaps most paradoxical reason. Your kindness is actually hindering other people's growth. Yes, you heard that right. By constantly solving other people's problems for them, you're doing them a huge disservice. Imagine a gardener so afraid a young sapling might break in the wind that he builds a thick, impenetrable greenhouse around it. The tree might not break, but it will never develop strong roots or a sturdy trunk. At the very first real storm, it will collapse. It's the same with people. Character, resilience, problem-solving skills, these all, like muscles, only grow under stress or challenge. When you rush to bail out a friend from yet another mess they've gotten themselves into, or finish a report for a lazy colleague, you're depriving them of this essential resistance. You're not letting them face the consequences of their actions. You're not allowing them to learn, to grow stronger and wiser. You become a crutch for them, one that doesn't heal, but merely allows them to limp along indefinitely. The Stoics understood that difficulties aren't a curse, but a training ground for the soul. True, wise kindness isn't always about cushioning the blow. Sometimes it means allowing someone to fall, so they can finally learn to stand up on their own 2 feet. And this brings us to the fifth and most insidious trap, harbouring hidden resentment and anger. Let's be honest, when you help someone even unconsciously, you enter into an unspoken agreement. You expect something in return. Perhaps not money or a favour, but at least sincere gratitude, recognition for your efforts, respect. But what happens when your help is taken for granted? When the person you've given your time and energy to simply says, thanks, and disappears? Or even worse, starts demanding more. Inside you, a tiny yet potent spark of resentment takes root. You immediately try to extinguish it, convincing yourself, I did it selflessly. But that's self-deception. That spark doesn't go out. It falls into the dry tinder of your emotional burnout and begins to smoulder. This smouldering resentment transforms into a quiet, background anger. It poisons your mood, your thoughts, your future interactions with people. You become more suspicious, more cynical. And the worst part is, this poison only harms you. The person you're resentful towards lives their life, completely unaware, while you carry this heavy, poisoned burden that destroys you from within. Stoics would call this voluntarily drinking poison. Now, for our sixth point, a concept Seneca, the renowned philosopher, often emphasized. In your pursuit of kindness, you squander your one truly irreplaceable resource, time. Consider this, money can be earned, energy can be restored with sleep and rest, but every second of your life, once spent, is gone forever. And what are you spending it on? Solving other people's minor problems that they could easily handle themselves? Listening to hour-long complaints from someone who has no intention of changing anything? Helping everyone with their insignificant, momentary tasks? Every hour you dedicate to someone else's goal, one that holds no real importance to you, is an hour stolen from your own life. It's an hour you could have spent reading a book, learning a new skill, connecting with your closest loved ones, working on your dream, or simply enjoying peace and quiet. Your life is a vessel with a finite capacity, and out of kindness you fill it with other people's sand and small pebbles, leaving no room for your own large, significant stones. Seneca would be appalled by such wastefulness. He taught that a wise person values their time above all else, because they understand. It is life itself. To give it away indiscriminately, left and right, is the greatest folly. The seventh reason directly stems from your people-pleasing nature. You erode and eventually completely lose your personal boundaries. Imagine your sense of self as a country. Any healthy country has clear borders, customs, and entry regulations. These borders delineate where your territory ends and another's begins. They safeguard your values, your time, and your emotional space. Now imagine someone who always says, yes. Their country has no borders. Anyone can enter, take what they want, and leave. Anyone can make a mess on their territory, dump their emotional baggage, and face no repercussions. Over time, such an individual ceases to understand where their own territory even lies. Where do their own desires begin? And where do those imposed by others take over? What do they do because they genuinely want to? And what simply because they're afraid to refuse? They become an amorphous, boundless territory, a buffer zone for everyone around them. They lose their sense of self. All that remains is a reflection of others' expectations and requests. The Stoics, conversely, advocated for building an unshakable inner citadel, a fortress impenetrable to outsiders. And this fortress is impossible without clear, firm boundaries that you yourself establish and rigorously defend, politely but resolutely saying no. The eighth pitfall is fostering an unhealthy dependency, one you inadvertently create yourself. When you consistently and unfailingly lend a hand, people don't just grow accustomed to it. They start seeing your assistance not as a gift, but as an entitlement. You become a predictable, reliable source of resources for them. They begin to structure their lives, factoring your help directly into their plans. This creates an unhealthy, codependent dynamic. They become reliant on your assistance, and you, perhaps, reliant on their approval. But what happens the day you're tired, fall ill, or simply decide enough is enough? What happens when you finally say no for the first time? For the dependent person, your refusal won't merely be a no, it will be perceived as a betrayal, a direct stab in the back. You'll instantly transform from their best friend and saviour into enemy number one. You'll be hit with a barrage of resentment, accusations, and manipulations. I was counting on you. How could you do this to me? You've created a monster that now demands its due, its share of your assistance. And this monster doesn't understand the word no. The Stoics would say you forged your own chains, tethering yourself to the expectations of others. The ninth point, perhaps the most unsettling, demands absolute honesty with yourself. It's about self-deception, lying to yourself. Often behind the facade of altruism and boundless kindness, less noble motives are at play. Ask yourself honestly, why are you so eager to help? Is it truly a pure desire to make the world a better place? Or is there a deep-seated fear driving you? The fear of rejection, the fear that if you say no, you'll no longer be loved, valued, or considered a good person. Or perhaps it's a desperate craving for validation, a need to feel indispensable, important, or needed through serving others. You end up buying others' affection at the expense of your time, energy, and self-respect. You convince yourself that you're simply a good person, but in reality, what truly drives you is not strength, but weakness, not love, but fear. The Stoics, on the other hand, regarded self-honesty, understanding one's true motivations, as the paramount virtue. They would have said, before you seek to help the world, look inward and ensure you are not merely trying to escape your own demons, disguised as a saviour. This crucial self-examination is the first step towards genuine kindness, rather than a neurotic compulsion. The ninth point is perhaps the most uncomfortable, because it demands profound self-honesty. It's about self-deception, lying to yourself. Often, behind a mask of altruism and all-encompassing kindness, lurk less than noble motives. Ask yourself honestly, why are you so eager to help? Is it truly a pure desire to make the world a better place? Or is there a deep-seated fear beneath it? The fear of rejection, the fear that saying no will cost you love, appreciation, or your reputation as a good person. Or perhaps it's a desperate craving for validation, to feel needed, important, or indispensable by serving others. You end up buying others' goodwill at the cost of your time, energy, and self-respect. You convince yourself that you're just a good person, but in reality, what truly drives you is not strength, but weakness, not love, but fear. The Stoics, however, considered self-honesty and the understanding of one's true motivations as the highest virtue. They would have said, before you set out to help the world, Look within and ensure you're not merely trying to escape your own demons by donning the mask of a savior. This introspection is the first step towards genuine, rather than neurotic kindness. And now for the crucial twist. After hearing all this, you might think Stoics advocate becoming cold-hearted egoists, but that's far from the truth. Herein lies the paradox and genius of their teachings. Stoicism isn't against kindness. It's against thoughtless, reflexive, and self-defeating kindness. True kindness from a Stoic perspective is a conscious choice. It's an act of wisdom, not emotion. Before rushing to help, a Stoic asks themselves, is my help truly needed here? Will I inadvertently harm this person in the long run? Am I compromising my own principles and goals right now? True Stoic kindness isn't about giving a person a fish. It's about teaching them how to fish. It's about declining a minor request to conserve energy for something truly important. It's the ability to firmly say no to a manipulator, protecting your inner peace. It's not kindness itself that ruins lives, but its unwise application. Kindness without wisdom and self-respect is poison. But kindness, underpinned by Stoic logic and the understanding of what you can and cannot control, is your greatest superpower. It makes you useful to society without destroying yourself in the process. Thank you for watching this video to the end. If it made you think, please like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new lessons in wisdom from the ancient philosophers. And now, a question for you. Have you ever experienced a situation where your kindness backfired on you? Share your story in the comments below, and let's discuss it together.